I have a nice. Good morning. We are here live at the Intercontinental at CCF, GTIA's annual Communities and Councils Forum. I'm joined with Andy Larin. It's obviously a live show. We're cornered up in a little hole over here at the Intercontinental. So unfortunately, I won't be able to pull in questions from the audience. But look, if you're in the audience, please say hello. I promise Andy and I love checking in on those things after. And it makes it feel like we're talking to somebody.
Absolutely.
And we've got somebody in the back who can bring in any questions for us. And then secondarily, give us a holler. What are you drinking this morning? Where are you dialing in from? And what do you want to learn from the show? Most people know me. I'm the host of Coffee Chats. It wasn't even a long night. It's just been an early morning of Coffee Chats. And I don't like to do an introduction myself, but I always love to get the story behind the guest. And so, Andy, don't give me the abridged version. Tell me a little bit about who you are, what led you to your business, a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I've been in the industry almost 30 years now. So this April will be 30 years. I got into it because I started my business in 1996 in April, and it was turning a hobby into a business. I built about 40 computers, 50 computers for friends and friends of friends and friends of friends, and decided that I would turn it into a business. And that then led into getting some government contracts because that was all the lead up to Y2K. So I got a lot of government contracts. I was building, 4,000 or 5,000 computers a year, right up at the peak. And then things tailed off after that. There wasn't near as much money in building computers. Really wasn't having that much fun after doing it for 4 or 5 years. So then I pivoted and turned it into servicing. Had to do a lot of servicing anyway because I made a lot of good decisions, bad decisions during the builds. And sometimes there'd be cheaper hardware, and that would come at a cost of then having to fix them. And then that whole servicing has changed over the years. So, I talked earlier about, how cloud came in, and then break fix turned into managed services, and now we're into a whole bunch of security services. So all of these things have morphed over that 30 years. It's never been the same. And before I started my company, I started it when I was 19. I was doing a lot of programming. I'd rip apart programs and figure out how they were built. So I would do assembler coding and C coding. And so that kind of helped with the business as well, trying to know how software works. And so I was able to then, use that to my advantage, having that foundation that was built.
Wow, it's remarkable. I think we've talked about it in the past, but I didn't know you were a software engineer in the background, right? You were
Long time ago.
Yeah, we're kidding. I had to learn assembly, so I've done it before, but never in production. I love it, and what you talked about there is definitely going to be a theme of the day, right? We're going to talk about these epochs or these eras of the industry, and we're going to talk about this new epoch and this new era we're going into. But before we go to that, Andy, just tell me a little bit about yourself, though, outside of your business. What do you like doing for fun? What keeps you energized every day you wake up?
Yeah, I'm a family man. I've got 3 kids. My wife and I have been married for 25 and a half years now. So, it's a busy life. We've got 3 dogs and 2 cats and a whole bunch of other things going on at the house as well. And, love doing what I do. I love going to work and seeing all of our people. I really enjoy that very much. And life is just busy. So that term busy is a relative term. Everybody uses it. But life is busy.
And what's keeping you busy these days when you're not going into the office? You get out there, are you a golfer? Are you a runner? Are you a cyclist?
I'm not a golfer. No. My son, so our middle child is 15, and he's bigger than I am now. He works out every day. And so I quite often go with him to work out.
That's fun.
He's much better at it than I am now. So yeah, just lots of stuff with the family keeps me busy.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful, Andy. I'm excited. We're going to jump into the topics here. But before I do, just for the audience, if you're in there, who remembers the break fix days? Anybody here? I kind of want to get like a raised hand on what era you entered the industry. Were you a break fix? Sorry, we can step back even further here. Were you an ASP?
Yeah.
Were you a telecom? Were you break fix? Did you come in the managed service era? Did you join during the cloud era? Did you join during the cyber era? Lots of options there. What did I miss? I'm sure I missed a few. I mean,
Yeah,
I only know up into the break
yeah.
fix era. That's when I entered it.
Like I clearly remember during the cloud era that when we were moving Exchange servers to Microsoft 365, and then before that moving other loads to the cloud, like lots of people were really afraid during that time. They thought we're going to be out of jobs within a couple of years. Microsoft 365 is going to make things so that it's impossible to continue in our jobs. That has not been the case whatsoever.
Yeah.
Things are much more complicated actually being on the cloud than they are, and so there's lots of things from the past that show us where things are going with the future. Things when they first moved to the cloud were not very secure. So lots of lessons were learned. Same sort of thing is happening now with AI. Lots of things are not secure by default, and so there's going to be lessons learned. Looking at the past, you'll know that these are the things that we should have done.
Yeah.
But that's the way it works. It's very fast paced in this industry, and lots of good comes out of it. Lots of lessons learned along the way as well.
Yeah, you said a few things. I want to pull back those threads individually. You said lots of lessons learned. We're going to come back to that one because I think that's a really important point of today's topic. But I want to talk about that uncomfortable. We feel like we're being replaced. You said in the break fix to cloud, we felt like, well, MSPs exist. I feel like MSPs have been in a consistent existential crisis with every epoch.
Oh, for sure.
And I would argue this one feels scarier. I'm obviously been in the space not as long as yourself in 30 years. How do you take on that? Do you feel like it's scarier? Do you feel like it's the same? Do you feel like we can pull on the past judgments or the past and feel confident in the future?
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited for the future. There's lots of good that comes with AI. There's a lot of real problems with it though. Governance is one of those things that isn't taken seriously when it comes to AI. Putting policies around things. Those are things those are some of the lessons that were learned during cybersecurity and are still being missed to this day. But yeah, I clearly remember when Exchange servers were being shut down and moved to 365. Like anybody that was an Exchange admin, they thought like this is going to be the end of what I do because this is what I'm good at and it's complicated and it just has to work.
Yep.
And 365 made it so easy, except it doesn't.
It doesn't.
No.
We
it's
know
far more complex than Exchange servers were. And that's okay.
Yeah.
It's a complex product. However, it takes away from some of the stuff that was not fun.
Yeah.
The uptime on Exchange servers was not fun.
Yeah.
We would get calls sometimes at 3 a.m. that a server went down and you're pulling your hair out trying to get this thing back up and running. Those things don't happen with a lot of things in the cloud.
Yeah.
But security definitely has to be taken a look at.
Yeah, I like it. I want to talk about security and I want to talk about past lessons, but I'd be curious to get your take. Like, there's a tier one, in the world right now, we've got so much uncertainty around a lot of this AI stuff. And I just want to pull that thread one more step back, which was we feel like we're not going to have jobs in the future, especially around this AI era. Maybe if you're talking to a tier one in the crowd or somebody out there that's feeling that way, what wisdom would you give them from the last few industry changes and shifts that you think might make them feel a little bit more confident about where we're headed?
Yeah, I mean, just keep learning, keep doing what you're doing. The governance side, the policies, we always look at security in three different ways. You've got your people, you've got your processes, and your technology in that order. So I always look at it like a three-legged stool, and if one of those things is not working, the stool is going to fall over. So, but I like it in that order: people, processes, and technology. So, you've got, when it comes to AI, for instance, you've got to create policies that the people understand and then train your people. So we talk about policies, and we've got a policy that's put together that's multiple choice. So, some may say, I don't want any AI whatsoever in my business. I think that's a mistake. They're going to get left behind, but that's their choice. They can make that. Others want to bury their head in the sand and say, my employees can do anything that they want with AI.
Yeah.
I trust them. I don't think they'll put any data in there that shouldn't be there. That's a mistake as well. So something in the middle is where you need to be. And how do you do that? You do it with a policy. So you say, this is the type of data I'm going to allow. This is the type of data I'm not going to allow. These are some of the tools that I'm going to allow. These are the repercussions if you follow it or don't follow it. And then you can wrap technology around it. Then you can say, okay, let's block all the LLMs except for these ones that are pre-approved. That's the technology route to do it. But we've got some clients that say, can you block all of them? Like, you have access at the firewall, can you do that? Well, sort of. But when people go home or when they, there's lots of other ways. And if you block all LLMs by default, people are going to find end arounds if they don't understand why you're doing it. They'll log into Gmail, they'll send it to themselves, they'll do it on their phone over a cellular connection, they'll send it back. And then your problem is worse because now you've got data in multiple places. People just want to do a good job. They want to work hard. They want to get their job accomplished. They want to do it as efficiently as possible. So you've got to create those policies and create that governance over that data so that they understand, oh, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't put HR data out there. I shouldn't put some of my financial data out there. But, people think that, just uploading it to some service, especially a free one, it's okay. It's safe. It's got an HTTPS, so it must be safe,
should
right?
be fine.
But there's that old saying: if you put your data somewhere and it's free, you are the
product.
Yeah,
We're a product right now in a lot of these
absolutely.
LLMs.
And even with a paid for tool, quite often they're not configured secure. You've got to go in and turn things on because they want to save themselves from some of the help desk things, so they don't turn on some of the extra features. So that's where people in our industry come in, and we've got to say, wait a second, hold on, let's do this securely. Let's put things in place. And that's why this stuff will never stop. So anybody in the industry that's feeling a pinch that, what's my job going to be in 5 years? Continue learning, because your job will definitely be there and much more secure in 5 years than it is now.
Yeah, and I agree there, right? Like, one of the bylines I continually learn on this show, and one of my favorite reasons for doing the show, is it's all about education and fundamentally just being top of line and top of education track on what's going on in our industry is the way that you'll always be relevant, whether you're a tier 1 help desk or a seasoned veteran. You don't get an excuse to not be educated, which is why I think we're all out here at GTIA's conference, right? My little shameless plug, I got to do it. I got a little badges here, man. I got to throw my GTIA plug in there. But
absolutely.
Okay, I love it. We went down that path. I want to talk about that applicable stuff, the policy, the governance, the configuration, those things here at the very end. But you gave us a lot of good tips. I love the thing you said around the AP. That's a really easy way to get started. Like, get to know what the business's tolerance is of risk, because it's just a risk tolerance. That's all it is. And then you can implement the technical controls around the output of what the acceptable use policy inputs are.
You got it.
And that's a very inline MSP motion that is repeatable around this AI story. So I love that. I want to get to those repeatable things later. I do want to step back because, behind every industry shift, there's been lots of change. And you use the word, you said it earlier. You said, I made a lot of mistakes. We all have, right? Like,
absolutely.
We're always that's part of the learning journey.
You got it.
What do you think? Maybe you have an anecdote or a story, or maybe you just have a recommendation, but what are some mistakes that you see leaders make quite often during these major transitions, like on the on-prem or on the AV, or from the on-prem to cloud, or the AV to cyber, or break fix to manage? Like, what are some of those repeatable leadership mistakes that you see that are happening that maybe we can preempt on the show here?
Yeah. I think oftentimes people jump in with both feet without knowing what's beneath the surface. So, sometimes you do, it's good to get out there and test things and try things. But it really is good to step back and see, like, what's actually going on here. OpenClaw is something that a lot of people are getting into. And it's massively powerful. But with that power comes a whole lot of risks. And from a security perspective, there's not a lot of security wrapped around OpenClaw. It's more for, just getting things done. So you'd want to be extremely weary about the type of data that is put there. People are, we've had dozens of people trying to put it on their main machines and trying to put it on their network. And we've had to stop that sort of thing and explain to them, like, this is powerful stuff, but it's really, really destructive as well.
Yeah.
So, stepping back and seeing what is beneath the surface so that, you don't dive in and there's a rock, 2 feet under that you're going to hit. Um, you know, so many things throughout. There's been lessons learned where you find out about stories that, somebody put something out on the cloud and it wasn't locked down by default.
Yeah.
Those things should be. So stepping back and checking those things before you start uploading all of your data is a really good thing.
Yeah, yeah, you say 2 feet deep. I think installing OpenClaw is
Oh,
like
it's like
full body bore, and like that is
like
terrifying.
an inch under the surface.
I'm actually fairly shocked to hear that you've had people, dozens of people in your client environments do that. I've done it in a secure VM, but I had made a recommendation. Jason Slagle, myself, and Matt Lee did a stream when OpenClaw came out, and the first thing I told people is go add the paths into your RMM and set an alert today.
Yeah.
Just in theory that clients might do it, but I'd love to hear that you guys are already getting those alerts and already watching for it.
And it's not just that. I mean, we get lots of, we use ThreatLocker in order to stop software from being installed that isn't pre-approved. And at least 2-3 times a month, we've got like full-on ransomware that somebody tries to run.
Wow.
Because they've got, a cracked version of Photoshop or something like that. They didn't want to ask for permission to buy Photoshop, so they went and downloaded it.
Canva's like $10 these days.
It's crazy, but these are things that happen, which is why you've got to have good security and governance in place.
Yeah, Andy, I know a little bit about shadow IT, something I spent my life in. I did a talk out at IT Nation Connect, and I thought it was an interesting trend data. More than 11 employees inside of a company, there's an 89% chance that there's 2 or more AI tools.
Yeah.
And I threw out Copilot data for that study.
Yeah.
So that means there's 3 AI tools if they're using Copilot. And I think
it would be even more than that.
So that's the 11 to 25 category. You go 26 to 50, you get closer to like 4 tools.
Yeah.
You get above 100, it's about 13 tools on average. So that's interesting. I'd love to share it if you don't have that data, but I did that talk at IT Nation, and it's one thing that I think is an indicator that this shift might be different. I've heard this a lot as I talk to people. The previous shifts we had to push our customers through. Did you have any customers calling you frenetically saying, I want you to put, more cybersecurity in and more things? But
unfortunately,
no. Yeah, I know. Didn't we wish they did?
Yeah. I mean, during COVID, we had the ones that we were trying to push to the cloud.
Yeah.
They were the ones saying, hey, I know you've recommended this.
We're ready
to do this now. Because of course they had to shift to working from home. All of the ones that we pushed forward previously during TBRs, they would thank us about these things.
Yeah.
So thank you for pushing us to that earlier, because we've heard from some of our colleagues, other businesses, that they're struggling now with these sorts of things.
I love that, and I love both 2 things here. You said the COVID era. I haven't even had it connected to dot. That's probably the most similar thing to AI right now that we can parallelize from our industry, where COVID pushed everybody to the cloud because it was that happenstance moment.
Well, it took like 10 years and squashed it down
to 2 years.
Yeah, into a very short period. I'm from Canada, and in Canada we were locked down for pretty close to 2 years.
Yeah.
And so that really squashed it down into a narrow period. But everybody was very thankful that they had already moved.
Yeah.
And the ones that still had some things remaining, phones, let's say, we moved those to the cloud as well afterwards, and voice over IP.
Well, and I think that the other statement that I would latched onto is they thanked you. And I think that's really critical to remember if you're in the audience and you're starting to talk to your customers around AI. We don't go full two legs in. Take it pragmatically, take it slow. But if you're not having the conversation, what you're probably going to find is in 2 or 3 years, they won't be calling you thanking you. They'll be calling you fanatically trying to get it rolled out if they haven't done it already. And so I think that's one thing that's different about this era, though, because COVID, they were calling and they were bringing demand to us. I think AI is the same. I've heard, at least a little, as I've had more discussions in this last year, at least, or even in this last quarter, I think a lot of businesses went to the drawing board in their annual planning this year and said, we're going to do AI. They dragged their feet. This feels like one of the other unnatural growth things in the MSP industry right now, is where the clients are asking for help with AI, and we are all trying to have to figure it out together. So I think that's a unique trend that's different about this than the other eras, that it's coming from the customer. The customers have already tried the tools.
Yeah.
What are other unique things you're seeing about this trend that don't maybe weren't the same from some of the previous eras?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people actually are just jumping in on it
Mhm.
because they're trying it at home. They're talking to their golf buddies.
Yeah.
They're just trying things. Whereas previously that wasn't the case. The move
Just
to
try
cloud,
Huntress or
like they
try
had to have
Larin.
us
Yeah.
do that sort of thing. Whereas this, they can start using AI tools. So that's why, I mean, we can't force anybody to put governance in place. We've got to keep planting the seeds on those things. We've got webinars that we talk to them about. But they're the risk owner. They get
Yeah.
to choose whether or not they want to follow our direction on things. But you have to plant the seeds, and
Yeah.
if we don't do it, somebody else will, or competitors will. So we're constantly putting those seeds out there to say, let's put governance in place around these things so that you don't have a data breach down the line.
Yeah.
And I think within the next year or two, there's going to be some major corporations that have things that have happened in the past that it's too late. They already put the data out there. I mean, there's already been some
Yeah.
some leaks already,
Yeah.
but I think there's some real major ones coming.
Yeah, I mean, the original one with Samsung came out
Yeah,
immediately with OpenAI, and they're exfiltrating code on accident. And
yeah.
I think you're,
Disney had
yeah,
one. Yeah,
I think what we'll end up seeing is a lot of mishaps that will eventually force some level of regulation and force some level of, requirements and policy. And I think if I'm an MSP in the audience right now, what I should be hearing when I say that statement is, if I'm not doing something now, that's okay. I think that's, by the way, I'm not like a FUD guy.
yep,
I very much believe in if we're not doing it today, that's okay. But we should probably make sure that we're starting to think about how we can equip ourselves to support it if this policy breach happens, or this policy change happens tomorrow, or this regulation steps in tomorrow, or some force majeure event happens tomorrow. And we have to really lean in and move in. What do we have, or what education are we building to be ready for it? And that's where I believe everybody should at least be at on the education side. But I wanted to ask, what are some of those other things? Like, what are some of those other things that MSP should be doing right now based off of those past learnings? Like, even if they're not going to go 2 feet in, maybe they just want to do the baby toe. What should they
yeah.
be doing?
Well, I mean, talking to your clients need to understand some of the risks that they have. Oftentimes, they don't think about it. Like using a free tool like ChatGPT free, they don't think that me putting my data in there is a big deal. They don't realize that they're training the model by doing that.
Hmm.
There was somebody from Microsoft that was telling us at a training event with Copilot that there was a major company down in the U.S. that um, would query RFP data before the date was, and they would see some of their competitors and how they're doing things, and then they would change their RFP based on that. Like that is crazy.
That is
To
terrifying.
think
Yeah,
about
that
that
is
sort of
very
thing.
terrifying. I can
Um,
see how it would work.
yeah, and so you know, realizing that anything that you put out there can't be clawed back. It's
Yeah.
not like you can get that stuff back. And so having that data governance around what you're doing with your data is extremely important.
I like, let's pull that thread through here, right? I've heard
Mhm.
governance, I've heard policy, I've heard like AI configuration and
Yeah.
things like that. What are some of these other repeatable things? Like, I think a lot of the MSP industry is kind of struggling because they maybe lean into these like org transformational things that are out of their comfort zone.
Mhm.
Um, but maybe you have some thoughts there. Like, what are some of these other repeatable patterns that are right in our comfort zone that we should be considering with our customers if we're not doing anything today?
Yeah, I mean, we lock machines and networks down so that not just any software can come in on the network. I think those things help me sleep at night
Yeah.
because for the most part, the company runs maybe 100, 150 different programs
Yeah.
across their. So your space that you came from, you
Yeah.
know it very well.
Yeah.
If they're already paying for SharePoint and you've got SharePoint locked down, why is somebody trying to run Dropbox? And so having tools to find out what's going on with that shadow IT really important
Yeah.
because oftentimes it's different divisions, different departments. They've got their own budgets, they've got their own credit cards. They go out and buy things, and then the IT team knows nothing about it. The MSP knows nothing about it, and so that has to come from the top. The
Yeah.
C-suite has to make those decisions to say everything flows through the MSP or everything flows through the IT department because you need that data governance.
Yeah.
They're the risk owner,
Hmm.
and to me, cybersecurity is kind of like health and safety. If the the C-suite, if the owners take health and safety seriously, everybody else kind of falls in line on that. Same sort of thing when it comes to cybersecurity, AI, governance, all of these sorts of things. If they take it seriously, they're the risk owner, then everybody else will fall in line afterwards.
I like it. Couple more questions I think a couple more questions as we get close to the tail here. And I'm going to give you a double question here.
Okay.
Where should leaders at MSPs slow down instead of rushing? And then inversely, where should they rush instead of slowing down right now?
Good question. I think that they should rush in talking to their clients, getting to know what their clients are thinking. Oftentimes just finding out from clients how they make their money. The way that they make their money is going to be the things that you really need to protect. How much downtime can they absorb? If they can't, then you've got to put some protections in place to stop that. So talking to your clients, that's the real rush. You have to talk to them, you have to understand them, because again, they make decisions based on some of the feedback that they get. The slowdown, I think AI is definitely one of those things. People will quite often just jump on a tool the first day that it's out. Wait a little bit and see what shows up on bleeping computer within a week, and maybe you'll be glad that you didn't jump in on it on day one.
Yeah, bleeping computer is definitely something I watch a lot of. Just like I watch Product Hunt, so I'm kind of like a yin and a yang here. I get all my shadow IT and all my security.
But what difference does it make if you wait a week and you find out what's going on? It's kind of like updates. Updates that come out, you can install them on day one within the first few hours. You're going to have some repercussions to that. Cyber insurance requires that you quite often install it within a week. So does it hurt to
6.5 days?
Does it hurt to wait 3 days and install those things? Probably not. You can't wait 6 weeks or months, but you've got to sometimes wait just a little bit. Don't be the guinea pig that's out there that gets hit.
Yeah, it's that risk gauge tolerance, right? Like what's not over indexed. And what, quite frankly, like on the AI side, I believe in a world where we're really moving to a lot of ubiquity. I think that even yesterday's announcements, I don't know if you saw what announced from Microsoft yesterday around Copilot Cowork.
No, I didn't.
Oh, yeah. So Microsoft announced yesterday that they'll have the Claude Cowork model powering their Copilot Cowork.
Oh, very cool.
And that should come out in the summer, and they'll have a new agents control plane that they announced yesterday. And the reason I say those things out loud to me is because I watch people jumping into these new startup AIs. It's like, well, I believe in a world where we're probably going to have a ubiquitous AI system, and it's probably going to be the one where we productivity work today instead of trying to lift and shift everything into new tools. I mean, that's kind of getting a little bit personal opinion-y, but I just see.
Can't go wrong betting on Microsoft.
That's kind of where I was going with it. Yeah, like you've already got your business data there. Why lift and shift and keep it out of there?
And for the most part, they do a pretty decent job about telling admins, here's the things that you need to do. Better than a lot of their other companies that are around them that just put something out and they don't put any guardrails around it.
Yeah, and I think that's the benefit of it, right? You get the guardrails, the policy, all of it's in control in the ecosystem. And here's my real argument. Look, I'm a power user of AI. I use all the different models and all the different things, but the reality is as long as you can get them out and you can get the value out, I think in a year, almost all of them are going to be ubiquitous. Unless you're really a niche edge user, you don't need to sign up for the newest, coolest thing. When it comes to AI, I think sexy is almost a little scary. And there's a lot of that right now. And if I'm being a pragmatist, I'm looking into the world of what's safe and what's stable, because there's going to be so much shifting in the next few years that
it's good to be a little pragmatic.
It's good that the one thing you don't want to do is, if we're entering this industry of massive change, is to additionally change where you're putting all your data and all of your risk and all of your workflows and all of your business, and not know that, I know Microsoft's going to be here in a decade. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox, Andy. It's been interesting as I've had conversations out here at CCF. So last couple questions. One more question, actually. It's my favorite question before I go into the roundup segment here. What didn't we talk today about that you hoped we had talked about, or that you thought we would talk about?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think we talked about most of the things that I thought we would talk about on the AI front. I mean, I think it's good to look at the past and try and figure out where we can learn those lessons. It's impossible to predict the future and know that all of those lessons will come to fruition. But we can definitely take some of those lessons and learn from them, and not make the same level of mistakes that we would make if we didn't look at the past.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking at all these previous things that have come up, I think is really important. And then stepping back and not jumping in, and seeing where things land a little bit before you jump in, I think is really important.
Yeah, and the lessons I've taken from you today on that one really are, if I take a steel thread through all of our different epochs, what I think I continually hear: education is king.
Absolutely.
You can't move through this era without being educated. I hear, don't be well, this is a business decision, but don't be the first innovator, but don't be the laggard.
Yeah.
Find yourself in a healthy middle depending on your business tolerance. And I find in general, if I still go back through every one of the epochs, keeping it in a central space where you're already working is what we've ultimately landed on anyway, epoch after epoch after epoch. And so just thinking about some of those pragmatic things, I mean, you've given a lot of takeaways. I'm going to have a wonderful write up to put away from the show. But we're going to move into the final segment here. We're getting ready. I can smell the breakfast coming in over here.
Nice.
I don't know if you can. I've got the bacon smells, and I'm getting ready to jump over there and eat some, and then jump into the keynote this morning. I'm excited for the channel con. Let me ask that question. What are you most excited about here for GTIA CCS?
Yeah, I'm super bullish about GTIA in general. I think that, when previous under CompTIA, it was difficult for others in the space like ICS Squared to join because they were a competitor.
Yeah.
But now that GTIA is on its own, we really need an industry association.
Yeah.
Every other industry has one, and that way best practices come out, and the whole tide ends up rising because of that. So I'm super bullish about that. I've been in the channel, like I said at the beginning, for about 30 years now, and it's helped me to feed my family. It's kept me employed, kept me employing others on our team. I've gained a lot from the channel, and so I want to give back to the channel. And I think GTIA is one of the ways that we can really do that well.
I love it. Similar sentiment on my side. I can't be more bullish on it. And things are going to take time. It's not going to be overnight, but I'm really confident in the leadership team and their ability to execute. I'm personally out here. One of my favorite things every year, and I'll probably do a special write up on it next week, is the state of the channel data. Carol and April's brilliant. I'm really excited to see what 2026 looks like and where she's got results. That's in 2 hours from now. That's my favorite piece to come out with. So, all right, time check. I think we've got just a handful of minutes left. Only 2 minutes. All right, so this is gonna be a really rapid fire wrap up, Andy.
All right.
The way I do this at the end is I ask a question. You have as much time to think about it within the 2 minutes, but you only have one sentence to answer it with. So, you ready?
Sure.
Sometimes I give semicolons. One lesson from the break fix days that still applies today.
That's a good one. That clients get to make the choice on what they want to do.
It's very similar. I was going to go service is king, right? Like we're all still service providers.
Yeah.
What is the biggest mistake that MSPs are about to repeat with AI?
The whole data governance side of things.
Yeah.
Because it's new and flashy, people do things that they wouldn't, if they step back, they wouldn't normally do.
Yeah.
So some of those lessons from the past are not being brought forward because people assume security is baked in.
Yeah.
And that's just not the case. We've learned that through so many different tools, so many different decades. It is not baked in from the beginning. It's not until bad things happen and then guardrails are put in after the fact. And so that has to be something that King is governing.
I think now more than ever, especially with the ability to vibe code security, it's not baked in. But that is a whole topic and a whole show and a whole thing.
And I mean, there's some good to vibe coding, but you're getting people that weren't in the industry necessarily, and they don't know some of the lessons from the past. Like I said earlier, I was an assembler coder. I used to take assembly functions and put them into C and C++ and Pascal, and did some really cool things, made lots of mistakes along the way.
We all do. One final sentence here before we get to the final segment, but finish this sentence. The MSPs that thrive next year will
Put themselves out there. Join GTIA. Join lots of different channel events that are going on. Put yourself out there, because that's how you learn, is by coming together with your peers and seeing what they know. Oftentimes, I take a whole bunch of lessons back to the company. Some of those lessons, though, don't come to fruition for 2 months, 6 months, a year down the line, and then I'll remember a conversation that I had, and you can't implement 20 things when you get back to your office. But going to these events, really, really important. And like I said, I'm really bullish about GTIA because we really need that industry association. So there's lots of other events out there. Put yourself out there, get to those events, and learn from your peers.
Love it. Andy, thank you so much for your time. This is the final segment, and then I'll have us close off. Um, I always leave the room for a shameless plug at the very end. Is there anything you want to shamelessly plug?
Not shamelessly plug, no. But yeah, just like I was saying there a minute ago, that's what I was going to end with, is getting into like GTIA, getting to a lot of the different conferences that are out there. I think it's really important to put yourself out there. The channel has fed my family for the last 30 years. I'm a member of CDAC within GTIA, so the channel development, where the vendors that are out there and the MSPs come together and form partnerships. And that's what I always look for, is an actual partnership. Not a transactional vendor relationship. I want that partnership. So get out there and get that.
I'm going to echo it. If you're not involved and you're out there on the stream and you want to get involved in GTIA, I think Andy would take a conversation. I'll take a conversation, but reach out. And so thank you so much for everybody tuning in.
Thank you all.
Until next time. Cheers.